Hey, look at that. Another thing that's gonna slowly kill us. Love it.
Zyn might just be the addiction of the future. These small pouches of nicotine, flavorings, and filler are sweeping across the world, with sales
By the way, never heard of it.
increasing by nearly 80% in the past year alone. It's a craze that's
Time to invest, boys.
been fueled by social media, with everyone from the biggest celebrities to random people promoting them online. The advantages seem endless to smokers. They're far less harmful than tobacco, easily concealed, and they don't make any smoke or
They call everything far less harmful than tobacco. They also said that about vaping. Oh, there's those negative side effects. And I, as an obvious intellectual, was like, yes, heated water vapor that's artificially made to taste like something with unnatural chemicals. Yeah, I, and all of that goes straight up in your lungs. Yes, probably completely harmless, of course.
vapor. With big tobacco monopolizing the market and ramping up production, it doesn't look like there's any way to stop this new addiction taking root. So let's explore how Zyn
You know what's gonna happen here? You're just gonna rot your cheek off, or you're gonna rot your gums off, as per typical.
is taking over the world by storm, and what the sinister consequences of this could be. As when you start peeling back the truth, you realize how dangerous this might be. The rise of Zyn in Sweden would create the template for a global campaign of addiction. But first, we need to
Again, it's always the Swedes literally trying to destroy the world. It's always the Swedes and Germans just trying to take first place in the cuckold competition.
understand where they came from in the first place. Despite the fact that they seemingly appeared out of nowhere, Zyn and other nicotine pouches aren't exactly a new thing. It has its roots
Yeah, nicotine pouches are definitely not a new thing. That's how we know the consequences of them.
in a tobacco product called snus, which has been consumed around the world for hundreds of years. Its spiritual home though is in Sweden, where centuries of tradition has seen it outcompete smoking tobacco as the most popular method of consumption.
I never liked snus. Jeez.
Back in the day, people would take a small pinch of this specially made powdered tobacco and keep it under their lips as it slowly released nicotine. Beginning in the 1970s, manufacturers like Swedish Match took control of the market by offering the tobacco portioned into a small sachet, each with a controlled dose of the drug. A few decades later, when the technology to extract pure nicotine from tobacco was perfected, the entire industry was thrown on its head. By 2006, the first vapes had entered the US, and it wasn't long before they were everywhere. A few years later, and you can't walk 10 feet without seeing someone hit the device or smelling the sickly sweet clouds
Absolutely disgusting.
drifting by. With their apparent health benefits compared to tobacco, it wouldn't have been a big leap to expect vaping to replace tobacco smoking entirely. But the arrival of Zyn has led people to ask whether vapes were just another stepping stone on the path to perfecting the addiction. In Sweden, it's been a different story. Through pervasive anti-smoking campaigns, as well as a cultural appetite for other methods, the country almost eliminated tobacco and other nicotine products from their country. Strong laws against marketing the products kept big tobacco from fighting back. People hoped that as the other ways to consume it slowly died out,
Yeah, smoking cigarettes has pretty much died out, except in parties where everyone still smokes, because why wouldn't you? It's amazing.
that Sweden would become the first country to actually kill the nicotine habit for good. That was until a Swedish Match found their ideal product. As the largest Swedish tobacco company, a nicotine-free Sweden would almost certainly mean an end to their business. So when so-called white snus came along, it was a godsend for them. By taking that pure nicotine and replacing the tobacco with it, they could make a seemingly harmless alternative that could take the market by storm. These new products launched in 2016, and Swedish Match were quick to take advantage. While laws prohibited marketing tobacco products and vapes, white snus seemed to be free of these restrictions. Now, marketing has always been an easy game for tobacco companies. Other companies whose products aren't chemically addictive have to constantly prove their worth to the consumer. If someone else offers a better alternative or the customer simply doesn't want it anymore, then you're out of luck. But that's not true for nicotine though. Just a few tastes or a week or two of habit forming and they've got you for life. Once addiction sets in, the product sells itself, and the nature of addiction means nicotine customers are unusually loyal to their chosen brand. This is why when tobacco companies are allowed to advertise,
True loyalty to your cigarette brand is insane. Gotta love it, absolutely love it. Dude, man, remember the good old days in school, 6th grade, when you're like, nah, I smoked this brand because reasons. It was such a good time.
They almost exclusively target new smokers. Each marketing campaign is that much more effective because each person it convinces is likely to become a lifelong customer whether they like it or not. Swedish Match and their competitors went straight to work advertising their new product to the young and impressionable. Companies would give the product out for free to lure in new users, putting out
Oh no, the classic drug dealer gate. First one's on the house, boys. Oh no.
internet ads that would send people free pouches with just a few clicks. Or they do it in person, staking out places where young people would gather. That can mean at conventions, festivals, or even more disturbingly, outside playgrounds.
I thought it looked good. And I wanted
That's the place, boys. That's the place. Hit them while they're young, boys. That's how you make the most profit from them.
to try. I just kept going. Keep going. And it's hard to stop. I'm kind of stuck.
And the results were quick. With the marketing beginning in 2017, it only took 3 years for the use of snus to overtake smoking in young people. Decades of progress in stopping the use of nicotine were reversed almost overnight, with tons of young people taking up this new addiction. Swedish Match, who had the most money to throw around, were very well positioned to corner the market, buying out competitors and securing basically a monopoly. You can see why nicotine pouches might be appealing to young people. Smoking and vaping are far less discreet. The smell can give it away easily, you can't do it in front of people without them noticing, and
Yeah.
everyone has the image of smoking with cancer. Whereas products like Zyn are almost invisible on the other hand, meaning kids can indulge in their new habits all day without having to sneak off to the bathrooms every half hour. Combined with the fact that they were easy to get and easy to use compared to the alternatives, it made their popularity inevitable. And people would have no idea about how truly bad this was, like they do about smoking cigarettes. And that's why Big Tobacco was quick to notice this massive opportunity to afflict even more people with an addiction to their product. They've never cared what form the nicotine they sell comes in, as long as it's addictive. They've only ever
Bro, they don't even care what they sell as long as people buy. That's the reality of this. Oh boy, it's not just nicotine, it's literally anything.
cared about creating new, lifelong customers. So when white snus spread across Sweden like a wildfire, they noticed. At first, Swedish Match made the
I don't understand why is it called white snus. What's the difference from typical snus? White snus versus snus? Yeah? Have you heard of white snus? There's no instantaneous Google response. Let's check it. Have you heard of white snus? A Swedish tobacco control activist rings the alarm. There's a lot of talk about Sweden becoming smoke-free, but this narrative has been created by the tobacco industry. Varns Helen Starna, a leader of Swedish non-profit foundation, a non-smoking generation. The organization has been working for 45 years to reduce the number of young people in the country who start using tobacco. All laws against marketing tobacco produce tobacco-free loophole. White snus is a Swedish innovation. She says, yeah, no shit, she says. It is essentially variable nicotine. Removing the brown tobacco leaves from the product means industry can evolve. Oh, so that's the difference. Okay. So white snus is not even counted as tobacco because it doesn't have the leaves and it's not from the leaves or something like that. Okay, that does make sense. So it can literally just bypass all of the regulations for free.
Operation International. The product had been imported and sold in small numbers a year earlier, but in 2017 they began a nationwide rollout in the US. It wasn't cheap to even make the stuff in the US. They needed to upgrade and pretty much rebuild one of their factories in the country, a project that would cost over $100 million. But once you start adding
if you ask, for example, Xanax, who's $100 million a bad investment for, the soul of a country, they would probably say, 100 billion would not be a lot.
Of the numbers, you can see why they did this. Each can of Zyn, a container which holds 15 of the pouches, costs about $4, but heavy users could easily go through a can every 2 days, all year round. And this really adds up. In 2017 alone, the year they were introduced, Swedish Match sold over 13 million cans of Zyn, and the other brands outside of Scandinavia. A year later, as more people were introduced to it and got addicted, this nearly doubled to 25 million. The scale of growth was truly insane, but it got even crazier. By September of 2019, they they were selling 20 million pouches or around 1.3 million cans every single month in the US alone. Once the factory finally opened that same year, they started selling even more, and by 2022, sales had gone up by 700%. Zyn continued to dominate the market for these products, never losing the over 50% market share lead they had taken earlier over the competition, which is why the brand had exploded in growth and seemingly came out of nowhere. Now, while Swedish Match...
Why? What? That's milk. Why? What is this? That's a refrigerator. Why would you keep them in a refrigerator, though?
Came out of nowhere. Now, while Swedish Match might be over 100 years old, these were the kind of growth numbers that only the most successful tech startups see. So just like any other startup, once they had the product and the market controlled, they sold it all off. And who better to step in than the masters of addiction themselves, the largest tobacco company in the world,
Let's go!
In late 2022, they bought out...
Dude, leave it to Philip Morris, okay? They bought healthcare experts. I say experts in healthcare, but you know how it is. Doctors, aka to say that smoking actually is good for you at the start. It was beautiful.
Swedish Match in their entirety for an eye-watering $16 billion. But the only thing they were really interested in was Zyn. And this deal might end up being one of the most lucrative deals ever made. If Zyn and other nicotine pouches keep growing as fast as they are, they'll replace vaping and eventually cigarettes. You see, Philip Morris could see that cigarettes and vaping were becoming outdated. Nobody in Gen Z really wanted to do this stuff anymore.
You know what's the thing? It's so easy actually for switching from a cigarette to something else. You know why? Because, again, cigarettes have the backdraw of smelling, requiring you to go outside and, God forbid, take a walk or something, and so on. All the other things don't have these downsides. And the moment you actually encounter a single downside of this, you're like, I mean, it's the same as smoking, so I'm just gonna try it, and, you switch. It's so easy.
Well, there were so many regulations, you couldn't advertise properly, all the reporting on the health consequences, the popcorn lungs, the lung cancer, they needed something to pivot fast with. Which is why Philip Morris didn't just buy 51% of the company, it was a complete buyout of every single share. They wanted it all, and you can easily see why. With that dominant market share, Philip Morris doesn't really need to do anything. With how heavily controlled additional advertising is for nicotine and tobacco products, there isn't any danger of someone else...
Dude, it is insane, by the way. If you're a non-smoker, you probably don't know this, but again, grocery stores and other places can't even openly display tobacco. It can't even be in front of your eyes. It's insanity.
The throne. Addiction makes people take the easiest route possible to get that fix. So if they know the brand, then they'll buy it. It means this deal could give Philip Morris an almost complete monopoly over nicotine products, stretching far into the future. Of course, that'll only be true if Zyn and other nicotine pouches really catch on. But what's making them so much more popular than vaping or smoking? Ever since they finally couldn't cover up the dangers of tobacco, the health effects have been the Achilles heel of the tobacco industry. They don't care about the actual suffering, of course, it's the optics and the appearance of selling an addictive, deadly product that hurt them. But Zyn, so far at least, seems like the least harmful alternative. Old-fashioned snus and other products with actual tobacco in them cause cancer. They're terrible for your health. But as far as we know, Zyn doesn't do this. The fact that unlike with vaping you don't actually inhale anything makes it at least marginally healthier. And while it might not kill you, it can ruin your day if you use it incorrectly. People who've let them sit on their tongue have reported being knocked out for the entire day, or feeling incredibly sick from the nicotine overdose. But to be clear, the negative health effects are the same as any other nicotine product. We don't know the long-term effects, of course, but it seems like it would at least affect the gums, for example. Leaking chemicals through a specific place in your mouth all day, every day surely can't be healthy. And it's also a highly addictive substance that can mess with your blood pressure and is a known carcinogenic. But there's no clear reason that it will be any more harmful than some of the
carcinogenic means cancer, by the way. I know it seems pretty obvious, but some people miss that.
Government-approved alternatives like nicotine gum. And the benefits are clear. Even in the worst possible case, it's far less harmful than smoking is. In a perfect world, Zyn could save a ton of...
Again, nicotine gum probably has a lot of the same problems. The reality is, nicotine is something that your body produces on its own. And by consuming nicotine outside of your body stops producing nicotine. So, any place you get that nicotine from outside of your body, in a long, drawn-out, concentrated fashion, is probably going to be bad for you, even if it's gum.
Lives by helping people quit smoking. But unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world. It isn't Zyn itself that's the problem. Some people are always going to use nicotine in some way, And that's not to say we should ban it. We shouldn't control what adults want to do with their lives. And so far, Zyn seems like one of the safest options. But it's the way that it's
I don't know. Have you seen some people? Because they are walking advertisements why the government should have full control over all of the bodily functions of some people.
being pushed onto younger people and the damage this is doing to society in the future, that's the real problem. Thanks to Zyn, tons of people are getting more and more addicted to nicotine, and as time has gone on, the sales of the highest concentration pouches have risen much faster than the others. It shows people are needing more and more to satisfy their cravings.
Well, yeah, that's how addiction works.
Moving on to the stronger stuff as this happens. It isn't just ex-smokers.
So first you start with the weak stuff, you use it here and there, then you start using the weak stuff more, then at some point you can't even use the weak stuff as often, so you go to stronger stuff, and then you start using the stronger stuff more and more and more and more. It's a beautiful circle of life.
Using this as a safer alternative and to eventually cut down, it's becoming its own addiction. This is the danger. Not smokers using them as a replacement, but people who've never had any kind of nicotine getting addicted to them. One of the ways this happens is through their cultural buzz. If your friends are all trying them and there's peer pressure to try them, lots of kids are going to cave in.
Listen, only a loser is not going to jump out of the window with his friends if his friends are jumping out. Do you want to be a loser? Fine, don't jump. Don't succumb to peer pressure. See how that works out for you. Pathetic.
And try it. The pressure doesn't just come from in person, a lot of it is online.
Truth is, Zyn is a powerful work enhancer and also a male enhancer, if you know what I mean.
Really?
Yeah.
Talking erection, huh?
Yep. There's no election fraud with Zyn.
Like pretty much anything, Zyn has its own community of influencers on TikTok whose whole online personalities revolve around them. It's a mixed bag of your bog standard embarrassing TikTok content.
Wait, I recognize some of these people. That's insane.
There's plenty of videos of people just popping them or in general talking about them.
Oh, there we go.
Hey, look at that. It's the retarded guy.
Oh, it's like a twister. What?
But a lot of the time the content is talking about upping the dosage and almost competing over how much you can take, with a bunch of people talking about taking multiples at a time. Then there's the so-called Zynfluencer showing off their massive collection of MD Zyn containers. There isn't any indication that these are sponsored posts, but Philip Morris, the tobacco giant who now owns Zyn, has done it before. They came under fire as recently as 5 years ago for paying young influencers to promote their addictive products. The idea isn't to outright sell them, but to show
Oh yeah, this crap. Oh, I hate this. This smells so bad. It makes me want to vomit, honestly. Anyway, time to invest in tobacco, boys. What can I say? Bye-bye.